Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate their consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable wedding professionals from across the country. And joining me on this particular segment is Jenny MacFarlane. She's the founder of the Catskills Wedding Collective. Jenny, super excited. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Jenny, tell us a little bit about the Catskills Wedding Collective, and specifically, who are those folks that you help?
Well, the Catskills Wedding Collective has been something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, but we actually just launched right around the beginning of COVID because we specialize in elopements and micro weddings. And it's mostly, we serve people from, New York City, Philadelphia, kind of all the urban areas around. And honestly, it was a great time to launch because a lot of people were rethinking the whole ideas of weddings, A, size, and B, location. And I think especially during COVID, people just wanted to escape to the woods. And so that's what I was providing them. So I bought a place up there a few years ago. Beautiful little cabin on a river. And as soon as I got up there, I realized that it was just rich with creative talent. So I work with a team, that's the collective. We have florists and, naturalists and caterers and pretty much everything. I mean, we pretty much run full service elopements and micro weddings. So people just call us and we hook it up.
I love it. I'm so glad that you brought this up. Couple of things, because of COVID and people's mindsets around weddings have been changing. I'd love to hear more about that. How has that pandemic affected your industry, and what are people thinking these days that's different than before?
Well, I think a lot more people have the power and the permission to have weddings on their own terms, and I've been doing elopements for a very long time. Elopements are definitely becoming more and more popular, just because people want to just focus on each other. Weddings have always been associated with a lot of drama. I can't tell you how many reality TV show people have tried to call me and do a show, and I'm like, it's not what I do. We don't do drama. We do just this really intimate, beautiful, fun experience. I'm a photographer. I'm coming at it as a photographer. I'm a photographer, but I'm also totally type A OCD. So I have to do everything. So that's why I got into the whole planning thing. But yeah, I think COVID has really opened up weddings in a very big way. And I'm super excited to see what happens next year and the year after. And as we kind of fine tune it more, I enjoy it. It's an incredible living I get to do. So
the reason that we've been wanting to do this segment, this series, is just because I've heard that there's been such pent-up demand, people having cabin fever and really wanting to get out there, and we're having some record weddings being planned now. So now you mentioned elopements, and that's something that maybe not a lot of people are familiar with, and you said it's gaining in popularity. Can we talk a little bit about that? What is an elopement, and why is that gaining popularity now?
Well, okay. So I call myself, my unofficial title is the elopement queen. If I fill in those forms, it's just profession. I'm elopement queen. I do elopements in New York City. My company is called Eloping is Fun. I do elopements in Iceland. It's called Elope Iceland. Iceland is the spot for elopements because, people,
really,
especially millennials, and now I guess Gen Z. I'm Gen X. Don't tell anyone. Their photos are that's their currency. Photos are a currency for people. You know what I mean? And they want to remember this day and have these great photos. So I think elopements focus on that, from my experience, on being able to take these incredible epic photos, and a budget, people don't have to pay for Uncle Tom's dinner or whatever. I mean, there's just so many reasons why elopements are popular. People might have family issues. I mean, I want to bring that up, that they just are don't want to deal with. So
I could see that. That sounds fun. Now, real quick before I forget, why Iceland? I mean, it sounds super cool.
Can't wait.
Is that very specific how you chose that spot, or why that's
No,
amazing?
you're in like marketing and stuff. You know the term there's riches in the niches. Do you know what I
Yes,
mean? Like
yes.
I'm very into like, niching down, down on things. So I personally had just been traveling to Iceland for a very long time. I have a very good friend who lives there, and it wasn't my idea. I was there one day at a little cafe on like a cliffside somewhere on this beautiful black beach, and I saw a couple getting married. And my mind was like blown. I'm like, so the next year I got a dress designer to give us some dresses. I took some friends, we did a styled shoot. And then from there we were off. And we're probably one of the biggest companies that does these elopements in Iceland. And we take like 10 hours. We like hike, we get like dirty and drenched. People are really into that too. People are really into the like, you know what I mean? Working.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
that is definitely a category of one. I love it. The only OCD planner photographer specializing in elopements in Iceland. Amazing.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Great job. So now for people we've got inspired about elopements, they're like, man, that sounds amazing. I can't stand my family. What are the budgets like for elopements? You said they can save money, you can get better pictures. What are budgets? What do they range like?
So like let's just say for my New York City company, which is very popular, our biggest clients were actually from Australia. They haven't come in a few years. I'm like, can't wait for the Australians to come back because they're super fun. They're just like, let's get a beer, let's just I'm like, these are my people, I like our base package for that is like $2,100, and that's a photographer for an hour and a half and an officiant and just kind of like all your itinerary planning. The budgets can go up to like whatever, 10,000, $20,000 if you want videography, if you do want it to be like a micro wedding and inviting some people and having a venue. But I would say maybe the average for an elopement is like 3,000 or so, 3 to 4,000.
That's neat. So since it almost is, it's really custom. It's very bespoke. So like how was that? What does that process look like? How do you take them through and plan, like give them options?
Yeah, exactly. So like that's something super important to me too, that people have this freedom to be able to express themselves and who they are. So obviously in like the past year and a half with COVID for Eloping is Fun, the one in New York City, for example, we've had a lot of New Yorkers eloping in their hometown. Sometimes like people do elope to like Paris or Italy or Hawaii. This is something, pretty common. So with the New Yorkers, like I do these like questionnaires with them, these like style questionnaires. I try to like get to know them on many different levels. And, if they have a favorite bar, maybe we'll just end up at their favorite bar at the end of the night. Like, how nice is that to be able to like on your wedding day end at like your favorite bar, just hanging out, you know what I mean? Just like do whatever you want, go to bed or go party some more. I don't know. But yeah, no, we do these like custom itineraries for people. And so for the Catskills Wedding Collective, I'm sorry, I'm going off topic and all these things that I do.
Oh, I love it. It's great.
Okay, cool. I'm
Keep
glad.
going.
I'm glad. Yeah, for the Catskills Wedding Collective, we usually do about like 5 hours of photos, So we'll go around, we'll do a little bit of hiking, we'll go to some waterfalls, it's just depending on the couple. It's always me, like kind of as like the lead planner working with them, and we just get to know them and just create a perfect little day for them.
That's terrific. Let's go back to the Poconos for a moment, since that was our original topic. Let's talk about that. What do you love about the Poconos? And I know that you've been drawn to that region now. Tell us your story.
Well, for me, it's a little more, it's quiet. It's very rugged. Like my area is a lot of beautiful, like towering pine trees. Like it reminds me of Northern California. Like it's really special. So the Catskills, I'm in the Western Catskills, right at the border of the Poconos. And then the Catskills goes kind of all the way over to like Woodstock, which is like straight up from Manhattan. And that's more like farmy and rural. But our side is like wild. Like we just had a bear break into my shed the other day. And there's great antiquing, the best antiquing, like in the Poconos. It's so amazing. Just weird old, like rusty farm equipment that you could like turn into something. And good restaurants, lots of like weird old quirky places, like places from like the 60s, like old lodges where you could just go and get some like German food or something. So
Oh, it sounds wonderful. And you mentioned that they have like better waterfalls on that side in the Poconos than they do in the Catskills.
they have great waterfalls. They have really nice waterfalls. They have all the best waterfalls.
It sounds wonderful,
Yeah.
antiquing and everything. So,
Yeah.
so Jenny, what inspired you to even get started in this business? Was it photography? Tell us your story. How did you get started?
Yeah, so like I come from a photography background. I actually come from like a family of photographers. So when I was a young girl, like I grew up going to my grandma's darkroom, and like from that moment, I was like, this is magic. Like everything about it was magic. So, I started doing photography at like a really young age. It's just my mind is always thinking in images and design and form. I went to art school. I worked editorially and I did photojournalism. I shot for the New York Times. I did a bunch of like, international assignments. And, I felt like I achieved what I wanted to achieve in that world. And then I like stepped into weddings, and it was just so much more meaningful for me. Like I could really, I don't know, like I hope it doesn't sound too cheesy, but kind of like make a difference, to like be this person with them on their day and to help facilitate to make this day just really amazing and have these photos for the rest of their life. So I got into weddings around 2008. I've been running my business since then. The elopements started, people traveled to New York and they wanted to elope at City Hall. So we started to do those. But City Hall is like, you have to get there at 8:30 in the morning and wait online and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I want to be taking photos. So I hired some officiants and I said, okay, get your license. Let's walk over the Brooklyn Bridge. Let's get a bottle of champagne. Let's just do this on our own terms. So that's how the elopement thing was started. So
That sounds super fun, super exciting. Obviously, you have found your perfect match for your passions because it takes us, I'm telling you, I know the industry enough to say it takes a special person to be able to coordinate all that stuff. It
I
is
have a
not
lot
easy.
of help. I have a lot of help.
And
I have a full-time office person and a virtual assistant. And yeah, I can't do all of it. I'm,
yeah.
I'm good at the big picture stuff, and I've got my team doing filling in all the details. So
And being resourceful, that is the
Yeah.
biggest asset, of course, is being resourceful. So Jennifer, before I ask you my last question, for folks that have been thinking about elopement or planning a wedding, something really special and custom, but they just don't even know where to start,
I know.
what advice would you give them? What's important to look for, and to find the right people to work with? What
Yeah.
advice would you give those folks?
I mean, my advice is going to be wait until it feels right, maybe sleep on it. I mean, I think sometimes people reach out to me with different things like, oh my God, we just found out about eloping in Iceland. We really want to do this. And I'll talk to them. And then a couple weeks later, they'll be like, my family is crushed and they really want to come. Okay, no problem. So they go in that direction. I guess I think it just comes to people. I think a lot of times by the time people come to me, they know once they found me, they're like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what we want. And then we just move from there. But that process before that, I think it's all very personal for people. I think it's just over glasses of wine with your loved one at night and, just one day waking up saying, let's elope. I think that's what happened.
And think through what the backlash could be if they do that.
It's gonna happen one way or another. So, like we're all adults, we're on our own. Sometimes we just have to make those decisions for ourselves. Sometimes we have to make compromises. Sometimes we have to make decisions for ourselves, so.
Jenny, for folks tuning in right now, how can they, if they'd like to talk to you and get some ideas to you and want to work with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Okay, great. So today we were talking about the Catskills Wedding Collective. There has to be the. Somebody owns Catskills Wedding Collective. I don't know who. There's no website for it. The Catskills Wedding Collective. I also run my company in New York City called elopingisfun.com. And that's my Instagram handle as well. And then the Iceland one, very simple, Elope Iceland. So you can find me, through any three of those websites and just check it out and enjoy the photos and, send me a message on Instagram. And yeah.
Jenny, you are wonderful. This has been fantastic. Great information, very interesting, fascinating topic. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success on your new venture, on all your ventures, and with all of your clients. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Jenny MacFarlane, she's the founder of the Catskills Wedding Collective.com, among Elope Iceland and Eloping is Fun.
Yeah, eloping is fun.
Eloping is fun.
Don't forget that one. Eloping is fun.
Absolutely. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate their consumers, grow their businesses, and leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.